Hello, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining our morning sessions. I know that usually 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. usually within the crypto communities, people are actually drunk from last night's side parties, side events. So thank you so much for waking up early, and I know that it's getting very excited in Southeast Asia. We are now again in the bull markets. Bitcoin has been very excited lately. So so we are actually here bringing a lot of investors with us, sharing some of the insights. What are the upcoming opportunities we are actually seeing here in the Southeast Asia market. Please welcome of our guests today's Karl from Arcane, Kelvin from Spartans, Augie from CMTs, has the phone SEABW and also Khai from LongHash. Yeah, would you probably give us a little bit intro of your backgrounds and probably how you get into the Web3 space?
Sure. So my name is Karl. I'm a partner at Arcane Group. We're Singapore-based Web3 VC. Been around for about 2.5 years. We're currently around $200 AUM. We invest agnostically in the space, both geographically and the verticals. I would say, though, more focused on Asia, obviously, because of where we are. Very excited to be here. Very excited about the space. Looking forward to talking about Southeast Asia.
Hi, my name is Kelvin Ko. I'm one of the co-founders of Spartan Group. At Spartan Group, we do 3 things. We have an asset management business, which I mostly focus on. We have 3 funds, liquid, long, short hedge fund that we've been running for more than 5 years now. We also have 2 venture funds, one focused on infrastructure and DeFi, and the latest one that's more focused on gaming, the metaverse, and NFTs. And collectively, between the 3 pools of capital, we manage about $500 million. Separately, we also have an advisory business that works with crypto companies to help them raise capital, do M&A as well as restructuring. And we've worked with some of the leading industry players in the space, including the likes of Blockstack, Solana Foundation, Dapper Labs, Bybit Exchange, and a whole bunch of others. And then last but not least, we also have Spartan Labs, which is our venture studio as well as consulting arm.
Great. Good morning, everyone. My name is Augie. I'm from CMT Digital. CMT is a global trading and investment firm based out of the US. We've been investing in the space for about 8 years. We've raised 3 funds, and we've partnered with over 100 companies in the space, including companies like EtherFi, Athena, FalconX, Circle, Pith, and many others. I'm one of the partners on the fund, and I also run our business in Asia, which means I spend most of my time here speaking with folks building from or building for Asia Pacific. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Morning, everybody. I'm Khai. I'm CIO and CEO of SEABW2024. We are the disruptive technology investment arm of Siam Commercial Bank, the biggest and oldest bank in Thailand. For us, we are doing both venture capital and venture building. And for venture capital, we invest in crypto, AI, and fintech. We are the investor in the like of Fireblocks, Anchorage, Nansen, Talos, The Sandbox, and many others, Ripple as well. We invest a lot in infrastructure and also application that parallel to traditional finance. On the venture building side, we have developer in-house that try to build the products that could spin out. And we also run on-chain activities for our portfolio company from the venture building side. Thank you.
Hi guys, Khai here, co-founder at LongHash Ventures. We started in 2018 and we love bootstrapping ecosystems. We love working with early stage builders. So we run an accelerator for the last 6 years, and we also run 2 funds. The first fund was more on the DeFi wave back then, and the second fund has been focused on multi-chain infra and more recently looking a lot into gaming.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for the brief intro about your backgrounds. As for myself, I'm actually Ann, partner of IVC, well, Web3 VC from Japan. And every year we hosted the largest Web3 conference called IBS in Japan. So this year is going to be Kyoto, 24th to 6th of July. So in case you are also interested to explore about Japan ecosystem, feel welcome to join our event this year. So yeah, since like Axie Infinity like took off about like 2 years ago, we are seeing like incremental adoptions for Web3s from the Southeast Asia markets, and we started seeing like a lot of data proven that a lot of like transactions are actually happening in Southeast Asia, including like number of like MetaMask being created in the Southeast Asia markets. Yeah, so we'd like to ask our guests today about like what are some of the Web3 investment opportunity you're particularly seeing in the Southeast Asia markets that you're actually excited about?
All right. I guess, jumping onto your point, obviously gaming, a big part of it. I mean, I think Southeast Asia accounts for something like, $15 billion value in 2024 estimates. I think the half of the world's daily users in gaming is in Asia Pacific. And half of those, the revenue is also coming from mobile gaming, which we know is very big in Asia. So gaming is one of those areas that, would be silly to not look into in Asia. Also, talking about the whole like play to airdrop, or which is essentially play to earn, is coming back. And obviously countries like Philippines, Vietnam, etc. For those guys, it makes a lot of sense. Things that we see in the US that, these guys, things that doesn't make sense for US might make sense for us in Southeast Asia. People earning, $20 a week might mean a lot to them. So gaming is an area we are still excited about and has been for the last year and a half. I think another area for me personally will be SocialFi. And not what I mean by that is social layers. We've seen a lot of things happening in the last few months, like North Korean developers being part of tech teams. We've seen KOLs raising 30 mil based on a content addicts on Twitter. So being able to have a social layer that can identify and verify on-chain and off-chain activities would make a lot of sense to be able to find the good and bad actors in the space. I don't mean KYC. I mean, just because a person has a lot of followers does not mean they're a good player or a good contributor or a good actor in the space. And a lot of guys who have no real activity, they don't like shitpost, but they're great contributors. So personally, I'm looking into a lot of these SocialFi layers elements in Asia, and I haven't seen anybody pull it off yet, but I think it's something that's going to be extremely interesting to see if somebody can pull off in this cycle.
Yeah, Kelvin, would you like to share something that Spartan is looking to?
Yeah, sure. I think historically, most of the strong infrastructure founders tend to be based either in the US or to some extent Europe. We tend to see fewer infrastructure builders in Asia. So historically, if I look back at the investments we've made over the last 3 to 4 years, it's mainly been at the application layer. So we were obviously very early investors into some of these projects in Southeast Asia, including the likes of some of the projects in Thailand, like Band Protocol. We were seed investors. Alpha Finance, we were seed investors as well. So that was during the DeFi wave that we saw back in 2020 when DeFi summer happened. And then others that sort of that fall into the bracket, projects like Pendle, based out of Singapore. So that was the first wave, and then we saw the second wave in 2021, right, with the play to earn wave, where the likes of Axie, YGG, and the whole gaming space took off. So we've been making a lot of investments into that space. So I think the application layer is where we tend to see a lot of Asian projects. And naturally, I think there is a reason for that because a lot of the user base is also out here. So those are the 2 areas where we've seen a lot of activity. Recently, we've also seen quite a bit of activity coming out of Singapore, particularly with the whole Bitcoin ecosystem. Just because you've got a lot of BTC money from Chinese miners that are sitting in Singapore, and so they've essentially bootstrapped the whole Bitcoin ecosystem and many of the L2s that are building from Singapore. So I'd say those are the main areas for us.
It definitely makes sense that actually there are more Web3 users in Asia, so application layer does make a lot of sense. And Augie, do you want to share some of the views?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I have much to add. I agree with a lot of what has been shared. What makes sense to be built out of Southeast Asia, I think, is a challenging question in a sector or category where products are inherently global. Right? There are some answers to that question that I think are, based on the developer talent, mobile gaming in Vietnam, for example, or given the user bases are here, if your business requires a heavy offline go-to-market to go after those users, like let's say a guild, then yes, maybe those businesses make sense to build here. Maybe there's a regulatory reason, like a centralized exchange, that you need to build this business here. But I would say more broadly, our view is that one of the promises of crypto and blockchain is global liquidity and global talent. And what that does mean is that an outstanding team can come from anywhere, including Southeast Asia. And I think Kelvin has already articulated some of the examples there. Companies like Alpha Finance, Band Protocol, Coin98, YGG, Etherscan, CoinGecko. And so we're super excited just generally for the next crop of Web3 founders from Southeast Asia.
Yeah. And Kaya, since you are from Thailand market here, you definitely can share some of the insight from the local market here.
I think that my fellow panelists have done an excellent job of saying everything already, but I just wanted to say that I'm very excited, for this year and going forward, because I think the ecosystem in Southeast Asia are very vibrant. If you guys look at Chainalysis, global adoption of crypto, it's amazing to see Southeast Asia, actually 4 of the country are in the top 10 list. I think Vietnam is number 3, Philippines is number 6, Indonesia number 7, and Thailand number 10. Of course, India, South Asia, they are number 1. But it's amazing to actually see that Southeast Asia and Asia are very active in terms of adopting crypto. I think in general, for Thailand, Kelvin have talked a lot already about, we have some of the local winners like Band Protocol doing Price Oracle, Alpha Finance that have done leverage borrowing and lending. Those 2 projects have been quite successful. And then for the Web3 side, gaming, the like of Khai doing like play to earn and things like that. I think recently we have In It Capital, which do liquidity hook, and that is also from the same founder, Tasha, which have done Band Protocol, which used to be in Band Protocol and then later started Alpha Finance. Yeah, and then we SEABW10X ourselves, we also have continue to do venture building, do lab and R&D in the crypto space. So we have the like of token unlocks that are doing data analytics and dashboard for unlock token. Is very important because the price movement can impact a lot with unlock of tokens. And so people have to understand. And normally projects, sometimes they might say that, they unlock this certain percentage, but it's actually unlock a lot more. So you have to really understand in detail, and token unlocks, they would go in and scraping smart contract level to make sure that it's very accurate, things like that. Yeah, and then we also have other projects like Korea, which do data governance, do make sure that the voting get done via their platform, make sure that there's delegation via their platform and things like that. Yeah, so it's more of service business. But going forward, we continue to wanting to make sure that the ecosystem in crypto in Thailand continue to be vibrant, and we continue to look forward to working with founders and then help propel them in any way that could make them become very successful.
Thank you. Shikai, would you like to share something that your fund is looking to?
It's a hard position to be in. Okay, I'll try to add more from how we think about Asia, right? And how is it kind of structurally different from some of the other markets? We have really young, passionate, open-minded population. We're very interestingly, some of the low kind of banked population, so a lot of people are unbanked, but very high mobile penetration. And so this leads to very fertile ground for a lot of leapfrogging. Or I see a lot of the kind of DeFi or stablecoin adoption that can be very interesting. Fintech really took off, and so DeFi has great potential here as well. Many of the local kind of payment providers even integrate crypto. So look at Grab, look at Gcash, like all these guys have crypto integrated in that. And of course, we look at things like games as well. They respond to incentives really quickly and in a very open-minded way, right? When Play to Earn came, just swept through Southeast Asia really quickly as well. So if you're looking for these young, open-minded people who would just try to leapfrog the existing systems that are not as mature as what you see in the West with, like, let's say, really entrenched, credit card systems and all these incumbents, here's where you need to look.
The other point I would add also is that the regulatory environment in Asia is obviously a lot more conducive, right? The financial regulator doesn't attack entrepreneurs like the SEC is doing in the US, which makes it a lot easier for founders to innovate and build products and launch tokens, and not have to go through convoluted hoops and employing expensive lawyers and so on and so forth.
Yes, definitely. So if I believe that there are actually a lot of founders like sitting down here. So I believe you guys are actually the lucky one, like started with your projects in Southeast Asia. And since a lot of you are probably looking for some of the checks from like a VC, so we wanted to ask about like our guests today that what are some of the like investment criteria that will actually make you invest into a project? And how do you evaluate into a project that makes you want to write a check into a startup?
Sure, thank you. I mean, not to make it too long-winded, because obviously there's a whole DD process. Is you have to look for everything from tokenomics, finances, legal, yada yada yada. But I think end of the day, what we're betting on is a founder and a team, and by extension, the community they are able to build. I mean, there needs to be a market product fit, all these things. And I think also tech is important, obviously, but tech can be replicated, it can be copied. But the ability to build a community and by extension becoming your end customers, I think that's something we're extremely focused on, especially this year as well, when the market is extremely short-minded, fickle, I would say. Attention span of people, traders are very short because it's a more bullish sentiment this year. So that for us is something that's extremely important. And of course, in the day, a vision alignment between us and the founder. So more open-minded as far as the product goes, but really a good founder that can pivot is more important to us than, being strict on a product that might not even launch for like the next 4 years when the market is over. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. So these guys have something to talk about as well.
Okay, now I can start first. All right. How we think about it is actually a sliding scale, and the later stage a project is, or the higher the valuation is, then the more important product market fit is. Whereas the earlier stage and the lower the valuation, then the more important the team is. Because when you're at the early stage and low valuation, you might be building something that might only come to fruition 1 year, 3 years, 5 years from now that will really take off. And as you said, right, crypto is pretty fickle, so it's very hard to predict what that's going to be. So we just have to find areas where, hey, here's this founder, and here is their unique insight and their unique resource, be in terms of network or the product that they've built, the relationships that they've built, that we think might win in the next 1, 3, 5 years. And it's really a team and founder bet, and we're looking at founder problem fit. And as you go later and it's the product's already live or is already getting users, then it's really, hey, have we hit the right timing in the market where users are coming in, people, investors or speculators are willing to also buy into this vision, and more projects in this direction are building. Therefore, there's a good composable ecosystem that's built around this particular vertical as well. And that will be more of the product market fit or the product ecosystem fit that we look for in the later stage.
Yeah, I broadly agree with that. I think we try to keep things simple. And at Seed, for example, optimize primarily for 3 things, and that is the team, which my peers have already articulated, market, and whether the market is attractive, and then finally some unique insight or approach to the problem. And the framing there, I think, is very simple, where as an investor, our job is to decide what matters at that particular point in time, at that particular stage, and for that particular company. And if you don't have a framework in place, you can drive yourself crazy, which I'm sure for founders also drives them crazy, with long, extensive DDQs on, what's the business model, what's the forecast, what's the unit economics, what's this, what's that. And that's not to say that those questions are not important, but I think our job is deciding or trying to evaluate what matters, what you can live with and what you cannot live without. And for us, it's those three things: founder, market, and some differentiated approach.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with all this. Founder is very important. In general, like we would love to see people who actually have experience that match what they are trying to solve. And if they actually want to do DEX, but they never have experience trading before, then that's a red flag. But in general, if the team is very strong technically, but don't have that much experience yet, we would love to see that they have the ability to hire someone with strong experience to come and complement them. That is probably something that we want to see. Also, in general, we want to see scalability as well, because some of the startup tend to be very good, but might be very difficult to scale. So we wanted to see that the business model should be able to scale to be a big company, because of course, like as a VC, we would love for our portfolio company to be unicorn. And so if they are a very good company but become very, very small and never be able to scale, then that's going to be difficult for them to achieve high valuation.
Yeah, for us, I agree with all of the points that were made earlier. But additionally, I want to add a couple of things. So for us, what's very important is our investment thesis, right? So if we think that a certain vertical is ripe for disruption, and that the blockchain has a very unique application into a certain vertical, we then go very deep, right? We launch a fund, we raise a significant amount of capital, and we go very deep, and we're committed to investing in that space for a long time, right? So take, for example, I mentioned our original fund, which is the DeFi fund. We started investing in DeFi back in 2018, before, DeFi, way before DeFi Summer even took off, right? And since then, we've been investing in the vertical even up to today, right? And same thing with gaming. We invested in X Infinity back in 2020. And after the play to earn hype took off, we launched a gaming fund, dedicated $120 million of capital. And back in 2021, there was a deluge of capital that went into these gaming projects. But when the bear market hit in 2022, all the investors sort of exited gaming. But throughout the bear market, we've been investing, and we've found some of the best founders innovating in the space, in the bear market. So we've just stuck with our investment thesis, and we've just continued to invest, throughout the cycle. So that's really been our approach. The founder obviously is very important for us because of how early we invest. We typically get involved in the seed stage and sometimes in the private rounds. And so, so we're investing in the founders, right? And the founders that we like tend to be founders, obviously, with interesting product ideas. But more importantly, we like founders that are very crypto native, because only the crypto native founders are able to understand how to leverage tokenomics to help them accelerate their growth. Whereas we find that a lot of Web2 founders that come into the space that don't understand tokenomics are technically operating with their hands tied behind their backs, right? So for us, the founder is very important. And the last thing I'd say is that we also look for founders that are very focused on BD, because we find that in the crypto space, a lot of people sort of focus excessively on tech. But I think there's a lot of tech out there, but the BD is actually what makes the difference, right? So if they have a good marketing team, a good BD team, then we're more likely to invest.
Thank you. And I think that to extend that the criteria that you're talking about, like your investment thesis, like the process of going through, like selecting the investments, can you probably provide in us some examples of some of the previous investments that you made out of these markets?
Sure. So starting with, I think, gaming as the most exciting vertical for this cycle. I think it's truly ripe for disruption in terms of timing. I think the last cycle was had a great wave of hype and a great wave of funding. And now many projects are that have continued to build through the bear are ready to launch and ready to take advantage of this growing adoption. So some of the bets that we're very excited about are, of course, YGG, and they're transitioned to a protocol to really build out this on-chain social graph. And I think that ambition is huge. In Thailand, we also supported GuildFi now transition to Zentry, just looking to be the game of games, right? And to incentivize various lifestyle. And I think that is a really smart approach in especially Asia when we look at the number of users and how they respond to incentives. Again, there's another one in the space, which is up and coming this cycle as well. I would shout out to Breeder DAO there. And there's a lot of exciting things in there. They've invested in some great games. And so these players are really doing very well in the upward trajectory. If we go towards a little bit earlier, some of the early investments that we've made, I would point out A-Star and Manta. They respectively have really crushed it in their vertical as well. So A-Star, coming from the Japanese market, has really built out those relationships with the government officials, of the institutions, and now translating that into mass adoption in Japan, and then later on expanding to Southeast Asia as well. And of course, Manta being one of the early movers in innovating in the roll-up adoption meta, I would say, is really deep into the crypto native mechanisms. And definitely very excited with what they've achieved so far.
Yeah, so the past investment that did quite well for us, we actually invest along with LongHash and Spartan. That's Apebot. That's the DeFi tracker for asset management. And that one got acquired pretty fast within a year by Nansen. So now that project become Nansen portfolio. And then other projects I have mentioned already, the like of Alpha Finance that have done very well. And now they have rebranded their name to Stella. And the founder of Alpha Finance started another protocol called Init Capital. And that one is doing liquidity hook, continue to be innovating in DeFi space. That one I angel invest. Then other project that we are excited that we are building right now is called Tradition Lab. They are doing tooling for zero knowledge. So that will be the area that we quite excited about, because I think we need more infrastructure in a zero knowledge area.
Yeah, from the from the CMT side, since I've joined about 14 months ago, our investment focus in Asia has broadly been sort of consumer adjacent. So things like content IP, gaming tooling. A few examples there are companies like, earlier before we invested in Cypher, which is a leading gaming studio in Vietnam, Axie Infinity or Sky Mavis as well. More recently, we invested in Kasagi Labo, which is an anime digital collectibles company that also has an anime chain where one can basically put their decentralized IP on there for more community curated input and cultivation. Another example would be Superfine, which is a gaming tooling company based out of Ho Chi Minh that helps with user acquisition. So these are a few kind of consumer-related bets that we're excited about in the region.
Yeah, I think we're lucky to be in this part of the world, and we like investing in Southeast Asian founders. I think in the US VC market, we tend to see, there's a lot of capital to begin with, right? So founders have no shortage of VCs to go to. And what we tend to see is that deals get overpriced very quickly. Whereas here in Southeast Asia, I think there are fewer Web3 VCs that are operating in the space. And we tend to find that most of the VCs don't know of the opportunities here, right? And the founders are also more reasonable in terms of what kind of valuations they're expecting. Typically, the founders also are looking for strategic partners that can work closely with them to help them find product market fit and to scale, right? So that's typically the way that we like to work with project teams, because we don't want to just give our capital and then sit back and hope that everything goes well. We like to work with the founders to help them with their go-to-market, with marketing, with capital raising, with bootstrapping of the community, and so on and so forth. And we believe that partnership is actually very important in creating value for these projects, right? So in terms of some of the projects that we've worked with that have worked out well. I think I mentioned Band Protocol, where we were seed investors way back in 2019, I think. We I think got a 30x exit, 30 or 40x exit on Band Protocol. We invested in Alpha Finance, where I think our exit was more than 50x. This was back in 2020. We invested in X Infinity quite early as well, got a 300x return on that investment over 2 years. We're big investors in Ronin at the moment, have been invested in Ronin for quite a while. We invested in Coin98 in the seed round. Again, the investments are more than 10x. We have also invested in Pendle way back in 2019, I think. And that investment is up over 100x. So you can see there is a pretty clear hit rate there, and the multiples that we can generate off of the investments that go well are actually very lucrative. And we want to keep this a secret because we don't want Western VCs to know that there are actually good founders and projects to invest in Southeast Asia.
All right, thank you. So from our side, even though I would say right now we're a bit more focused on the liquid side, we have done a number of investments last year, which did really well. And a couple of them still up and coming. So we have like Moonveil, for example, together with LongHash. We're also on the CMT for the Kasagi investment. IP side, other games, we have things like Space Nation, we got a Fusionist. On the Bitcoin layer side, we have things like BounceBit, we recently invested into. And I think another one which is quite interesting for me at least is Asterisk Labs. This is actually it's an NFT project, but it's a new sort of standard which is called DN404. Essentially, it's a more efficient ERC404 protocol. So the CTO is actually one of the core contributors together with the ventures team for DN404, providing, I guess, much needed liquidity for NFTs, which I think will come back this year again. These teams sort of like just launched bootstrapped by themselves to risk investments. Once they realized this is, a good market fit and a good product, they raised a very small round with only strategic players in Asia. These are the kind of like founders we like to work with, and we're excited to like see what that can, what can happen with that project and that sort of standard in this year. Yeah.
All right. We are almost toward the end of the panel. Probably we'll have our guests to give some of the last advice to our like founders here, some recommendations. What would you suggest to founders to build a successful Web3 startups?
This might sound controversial, but I would say don't only go to VCs. This is bad coming from a VC, I would say, but you know what? Like a lot of us don't know everything, and a lot of VCs, not us obviously, will just push higher valuations just for the sake of paper gains, which means they can raise more money. I think this year we'll see a lot of people trying to raise more from communities, from syndications, from groups, which essentially bootstraps your marketing, your community, and your user base already. And I think that you can also raise smaller rounds and actually build better and a bit more adapted to the market. So controversial, but we still need VCs, so please approach us. But think about alternate solutions as well.
Yeah, I would say a couple of things. One, as I mentioned earlier, if you're looking for funding, think about who you want to partner with, right? What you're actually looking for in a VC. Don't optimize purely for valuations, but think about who you want to work with over the long run and what they can bring to your project, right? I think that's very keen. The second thing I would say is dream big, right? Because some of the names that I mentioned earlier, whether it's Band Protocol or X Infinity or Pendle, when I met many of these founders, when they were raising the seed round, I don't think any of them really believed that they could sort of become successful. But they have, right? And in a very short period of time. And I think that's the beauty of Web3 because we're very, very early. So there's that opportunity. And also, in Web3, I think just given the way that the fundraising mechanism works, the way that tokenomics work, it allows you to scale very quickly and allows you to scale globally. So have a big vision and try things that others haven't tried before.
Yeah, very, very quickly from my side, I think if you are a founder building for the local market, my advice to you would be heavily scrutinize the market size and consider the non-obvious insight. And what I mean by that is, we do see a lot of pitches around sort of leveraging crypto for things like banking the unbanked, financial products for the bottom of the pyramid, these sorts of pitches. And while it's a wonderful mission, I'm glad that these businesses are being built. I think when you really double click there, the dollar contribution per individual is small, and it's oftentimes it's tough to profitably service that segment. And so it may be worth thinking about whether you want to build crypto for the bottom of the pyramid or whether a different segment you could serve crypto to and still solve a very real problem for them, very similar to how fintech developed in India, for example. And so just do that. I think focus on how large the dollar market actually is and consider the non-obvious insight, which in Southeast Asia, my mind is, you can build crypto for the bottom of the pyramid, but I think crypto can be applied in a lot of other places and still yield a very large business.
Yeah, I think my advice would be don't focus so much on valuation. I think it's hard to say nowadays because the valuation is going up due to we are coming back to the bull market of crypto. But we have seen like some of the startups that trying to get higher valuation and then try to talk to so many lead investor and then at the end decided not to raise because they feel like they should have been worth a lot more. In general, I just feel that try to get the term sheet from the investor that can really help you, and you can raise smaller amount, build traction, and then raise with much higher valuation later. That can also work very well for you because you won't dilute so much at the beginning.
All right, I'll come from a more crypto native angle. I feel that right now there's a lot of vibes around feeling, nihilistic or a bit kind of dejected because, hey, all these meme coins are doing well, all these, low float speculative tokens are doing well. And I can sense that some of the founders are feeling a bit dejected, a little bit distracted. And my advice would be, don't worry about it, right? Focus on your conviction, focus on your users and delivering value. And I'm confident the curve of the universe will eventually bend towards justice, and we will see the players who are deserving, who are actually delivering value, serving users, and disrupting markets that deserve to be disrupted, and you will get recognized eventually.
Yeah, thank you so much for all the investors here for sharing the great insights. Would all the audience give a big applause to our guests today?